Tengri hurled his lightning bolt, and the winged horse fell from the sky. This was not mere punishment. It was the beginning of a war between the celestial realms and the underworld. But the ancient Bashkir epics tell a version of this story where the horse chose its chains willingly. To understand this, you must first see the world as the old season. Look south to the spine of the Ural Mountains, where Mount Yaman-Tau rises like a broken tooth against the eternal blue of Tengri. Below it, the steppe stretches endlessly, a sea of feather grass bending under winds that have whispered the same names for 1,000 years. But the sky itself is not empty. Above the clouds lies the upper world, the realm of Tengri, where the stars are campfires of the ancestors. Below the earth, beneath the roots of the mountains and the cold waters of Lake Shulgen, lies the lower world, the kingdom of the demon king Shulgen, where sunlight has never touched a single stone. That horse was Ak Boz At, the white-gray one. According to the Kubair, the epic poem sung by generations of Bashkir bards, Ak Boz At was born on the summit of Yaman-Tau, the son of a celestial Mare. He was a Tulpar, a creature of the upper world, meant to serve only the bravest of Batyrs, the warrior heroes of the Turkic people. He could not fly, could not reach the sky, but he could drag the divine down into the dark. Shulgen did not steal Ak Boz At through battle. He used something far more ancient. The Serpent King approached the winged horse on the shores of the Great Lake and spoke words that coiled like smoke. They are bones, now dust. You will be forgotten too, unless you accept my protection. And Ak Boz At, proud but lonely, descended into the cold waters of his own free will. The people of the steppe forgot the sound of his hooves. But the blood of the old heroes did not vanish. It ran thin, waiting for a moment to rise again. He was not born in a yurt of gold or wrapped in silk. His father was a poor herdsman. But the old Sesson, those who still remembered the ancient songs, saw something in the child's eyes. A hunger for the sky when Hauban came of age. The old man's hands were scarred from a lifetime of holding the Kurai, the long Bashkir flute carved from the reeds of Lake Shulgen. He was a Batyr who defeated the seven-headed Ajdaha and drove Shulgen back into the deep. Now, the demon king rules the waters, and the people suffer. Hauban listened. Then he asked the question that would change everything. You must descend into Shulgen's kingdom. You must find the saddle and bridle of Ak Boz At. And you must play this Kurai, the only sound the horse remembers from the world above. Riches, immortality, you must refuse it all. Because the horse will only follow a rider who wants nothing but the sky. Hauban took the Kurai. He walked to the edge of Lake Shulgen. He put the flute to his lips and played a note that pierced the veil between worlds. It fell through the black depths of Lake Shulgen like a spear of sound, past schools of blind fish and forests of drowned trees. They were carved from the bones of mountains, black stone veined with minerals that glowed faintly like the last embers of a dying fire. Phosphorescent jellyfish drifted through the halls, and at the center of it all sat Shulgen, the Serpent King, his throne made from the spine of an Ajdaha so ancient that its ribs formed the ceiling of the great hall. He passed chambers filled with gold that meant nothing, rooms stacked with weapons that could never kill a demon. Ak Boz At stood chained to the foundations of the palace, his wings folded tight against his flanks, his white-gray coat dimmed to the color of old ash. The horse raised his head when he saw the boy, and his eyes were the color of the sky before a storm. Are you worthy of the sky? I do not know if I am worthy. There will always be another who remembers the songs. And then Shulgen arrived. He unfolded from the darkness itself, his body shifting and reforming as he moved, First a serpent with scales of obsidian, then a man with eyes like drowned stars. Fear, lust, pride, sloth, envy, gluttony. Each head represented a chain that bound humanity to the earth. You carry a flute and a dream. What makes you think you can take what is mine? The sound that emerged was not music, it was memory. It was the cry of eagles over Mount Yaman-Tau. It was the laughter of children. The 7 heads of Shulgen recoiled, hissing in pain, because the sound reminded them of the sky they could never reach. And in that moment, Ak Boz At reared back. His wings, vast, white-gray, powerful, unfurled for the first time in centuries, sending shockwaves through the water. The horse's hooves struck the palace floor, and the entire underwater kingdom trembled. The waters of Lake Shulgen exploded upward as Ak Boz At burst through the surface, his wings shedding centuries of darkness in a single thunderous beat. Hauban clung to the horse's mane, feeling the cold of the deep world evaporate from his bones as the wind of the middle world hit his face for the first time. But Ak Boz At did not stop. He galloped across the steppe, his hooves barely touching the feather grass. The mountain rose before them like a gateway, its peak wrapped in clouds that glowed with an inner light. As they climbed, the air grew thin and cold, and Hauban saw the spirits of the mountain watching from the rocks. At the summit, a mare stood waiting. She was larger than any horse Hauban had ever seen. She was the mother of Ak Boz At, born from the breath of Tengri himself. She lowered her head and touched her son's forehead with her own. "You have returned," she said, her voice the sound of thunder rolling across distant mountains, "and you have brought a rider who remembers the old songs." The breath was warm, like the first spring wind after a brutal winter, and it carried the power of Tengri, the eternal blue sky. "Ride now," the celestial mare said. "The ancestors are waiting." Ak Boz At reared and launched himself from the summit. It was a gallop across the firmament itself, each hoof striking the sky and leaving a trail of stars behind them. The wind screamed past Hauban's ears. They passed through clouds that were not clouds, but the campfires of ancestors, each one a soul that had lived and died and now watched from the edge of eternity. The stars grew closer, brighter. And then they arrived. Uchmag was not a garden or a palace. It was the source of all things, a field of light that stretched in every direction, where the grass was made of silver and the rivers flowed with molten gold. Zayatulyak stood among them, his face weathered but kind, his eyes meeting Hauban's with recognition. "You freed the horse. You broke the chains of Shulgen. You are the true Batyr of the Bashkir people." The ancestors raised their hands, and a light descended upon Hauban, the blessing of the entire lineage, the weight and honor of every hero who had come before. He was restored. He was the Tulpar of legend, the horse that carried heroes to heaven and back again. Ak Boz At descended like a thunderbolt, his hooves striking the earth of the steppe with a force that shook the ground for miles. The people of the villages emerged from their yurts. The horse was back, the hero had returned. But one enemy remained. The Ajdaha, the 7-headed dragon that had terrorized the villages since the days of Zayatulyak, rose from its lair in the mountains, its scales black as pitch. Hauban did not hesitate. He spurred Ak Boz At forward, and the horse galloped straight at the beast. The first head lunged. Ak Boz At swerved. The second head struck. Hauban raised his Kurai and played a note that shattered the dragon's fangs. The third, fourth, and fifth heads attacked together, but the horse and rider moved as one being weaving between the strikes like smoke through a fence. The seventh head, the largest, the one that contained the dragon's soul, lunged for the horse's throat. The Ajdaha collapsed, its body crumbling into dust that the wind scattered across the steppe. Fires were lit. The Kubair was sung anew, this time with a new verse, the verse of Hauban and Ak Boz At. And so the image of the winged horse was carved into stone baubles across the Urals. Travelers who pass through the mountains of Bashkortostan today, the coat of arms of the Republic carries the Tulpar to this day, a reminder that the sky is not just above us, but within us. The people of the southern Urals did not merely celebrate Hauban's victory, they transformed it into the foundation of their identity. Every spring, when the ice melted from Lake Shulgen and the reeds began to grow along its shores, the song taught them that the divine does not abandon the worthy. But the true test of a myth is not how it ends, it is how it survives. For centuries, the epic of Ak Boz At lived only in the memories of the Bashkir storytellers. Then, in 1910, a folklorist named Mukhametsha Burangulov sat down with a sesen. Without that single act of preservation, the white-gray horse might have vanished into the same silence that swallowed so many steppe legends. The winged horse, the Tulpar, stands at the center of the coat of arms of the Republic of Bashkortostan, its silver body rising against a golden sun, its wings spread wide over the Ural Mountains. It watches from hotel signs in UFA, from monuments in village squares, from the carved stone of modern baubles that echo the ancient ones. The epic itself. But preservation is not the same as understanding. The lesson of Ak Boz At is not that heroes are strong. It is that they are willing to descend into darkness, to refuse every temptation. The white-gray horse still carries those who are worthy. The question is whether you will let the chains of Shulgen, greed, fear, pride. Subscribe to hear more legends from the dawn of civilization.